Let me break a myth that's been quietly sabotaging good men for decades. You've probably heard it before. If you're kind, if you're honest, if you just be yourself, the right woman will see that and fall for you. Sounds noble, right? Respectful. Simple. But here's the hard truth: it doesn't work like that. Because attraction isn't a checklist. It's not a moral reward for being a good guy. And women, they don't fall in love through logic. They feel it. That's the part most men never get taught. See, we're raised to believe that if we do everything right, open doors, send good morning texts, listen closely, we'll somehow unlock some secret romantic code. But what no one tells you is this: attraction happens below the surface. It's emotional, it's subconscious, it's energetic. It's not about being nice. It's about being felt. Let me ask you something, brother. Have you ever been in a situation where you treated her with complete respect, showed up, stayed consistent, and still, she pulled away? You're left confused, thinking, what else could I have done? I gave her everything. But here's what most men don't realize. You were giving her the right behaviors, but from the wrong energy. Because women don't respond to what you do, they respond to how it makes them feel. And if your energy is rooted in pleasing, proving, or earning approval, she'll feel it. She won't call it out. She might not even know why she's suddenly distant. But on a gut level, something doesn't feel right. Because safety, polarity, mystery, depth, those aren't created through words. They're created through presence, through energy, through the invisible space between you. That's why this video exists. Not to teach you how to game the system, but to strip away the noise and give you the truth about how attraction really works. We're diving into the real triggers, the psychological switches most men overlook. These aren't pickup lines. These aren't tricks. This is about becoming a man who leads with presence, purpose, and depth. A man who doesn't just impress her mind, he impacts her nervous system. And the first step? You have to unlearn what society taught you about love. Because being nice is great. Being honest is essential. But if you're using those traits as a transaction, if I do this, then she'll love me, you're not attracting her. You're auditioning for her approval. Big difference. So let me make this clear from the start. This isn't a video for men who want to chase harder. This is for men who are ready to build themselves from the inside out. Men who are done with surface-level advice, tired of guessing what she wants, and finally ready to embody a version of masculinity that is felt, remembered, and respected. Because when you show up with emotional power, masculine groundedness, and quiet confidence, you don't have to say much. You don't need to prove anything. She just feels it. You become the gravity in the room, and she leans in not because she was convinced, but because something in her finally feels safe, seen, and alive. Let's get into it. This is the truth about attraction and the 12 hidden psychological triggers that awaken something deeper in her. Number 1. The steadfast man. Let me tell you something that most men overlook. In a world full of chaos, the rarest thing a man can be is steady. We live in times where everything feels temporary. Text threads fade. Promises are broken casually. Plans change last minute. Feelings shift overnight. And for many women, that's the norm. They've been trained to expect flakiness, to brace themselves for the moment a man disappears, goes cold, or just stops showing up. That's why, brother, the man who's steadfast, who does what he says, who follows through, who remains solid when others waver, becomes magnetic. He becomes her anchor in a world of drift. Now, I'm not talking about being robotic or predictable. I'm talking about a deeper form of consistency. One rooted in integrity. Being a steadfast man means your word means something. If you say you'll call, you call. If you say you'll show up, you're there on time. Not because you're trying to impress her, but because that's just who you are. And here's the deeper truth. Women don't just listen to what you say. They feel the weight of your follow-through. She's not testing you to play games. She's observing, can I trust him when life gets messy? Will he still be there when it's no longer convenient? Because any man can show up when things are easy. But the man who stays consistent when life throws curveballs? That's the one who earns her respect and her softness. Think about it like this. When the storm hits emotionally, mentally, situationally, most men fold. They run. They get overwhelmed, shut down, or self-sabotage. But the steadfast man, he breathes. He grounds himself. He doesn't let emotions dictate his direction. And that energy, that's what creates safety. Not the surface level, I care about you texts. Not the over-the-top gestures, but the quiet, reliable presence of a man who knows who he is and honors what he says. Let me ask you, how many times have you broken a promise to yourself? Said you'd hit the gym and didn't? Told yourself you'd quit that habit and gave in the next week? Now imagine what that same inconsistency feels like from her perspective. If you're not solid with you, how can she feel safe trusting you? This isn't about perfection. This is about alignment. Your actions and your values have to match. Because that's what builds long-term attraction, not flash, not charm, but emotional trust. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's the Stoic blueprint right there. Being steadfast is the foundation of that blueprint. It's not loud. It's not flashy. But it's unforgettable. Because in a sea of men trying to impress, the one who quietly delivers consistently becomes irreplaceable. So if you've ever wondered why the bad boys get her attention but lose her trust, and the nice guys get her trust but not her desire, understand this. The steadfast man earns both. He grounds her nervous system. He gives her space to be feminine without needing to micromanage his masculinity. And that presence, brother, is rare. If that truth resonates with you, if you're ready to become the man who shows up, not just once, but always, lock it in right now. Say it to yourself, or drop it in the comments. I move with consistency. I lead with presence. Because that's what separates a man she dates from a man she trusts with her heart. Number 2, confidence. Let's talk about confidence. Not the fake kind. Not the loud, performative, look at me kind. I'm talking about that quiet, grounded presence that makes people stop and notice without you saying a word. Because real confidence doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't seek validation. It radiates calm certainty. Here's the truth most guys don't realize. Confidence isn't about walking into a room and thinking you're better than everyone. It's about walking in and not needing to compare yourself to anyone at all. It's the man who doesn't need to dominate the conversation because he's not afraid of silence. It's the man who doesn't rush to impress because he knows his presence speaks louder than any performance ever could. And here's why that matters in attraction. Women are emotional sensors. They can feel when a man is grounded in who he is versus when he's just performing who he thinks he should be. You ever notice how some guys can say all the right things, have a polished look, a great job, and still something feels off? That's because their confidence is borrowed from titles, money, external status. But here's the problem with that. The moment those things disappear, so does their sense of self. Real confidence? It's built internally. It's forged through experience, through pain, through showing up even when no one claps for you. It's knowing your worth without needing the world to validate it. Let me ask you something, brother. When you're alone and no one's watching, no one's praising, do you still feel like a man worth respecting? Because that's the test. Confidence is what you carry when the spotlight's off. And women? They pick up on that energy instantly. They don't need you to be perfect, but they need to feel that you're solid within yourself. Not insecure, not chasing their approval, not trying to become what you think they want. Because when a man is rooted in self-trust, when he backs his own energy, his own decisions, his own pace, he becomes safe. He becomes attractive. He becomes a challengee not because he's playing hard to get, but because he's hard to shake. You don't get rattled by her moods. You don't flinch when she tests you. You don't fold when things get uncomfortable. That kind of stability, it's rare, and it's magnetic. You see, most men were never taught how to build real confidence. They were taught how to collect proof, good grades, job titles, gym selfies, dating app likes. But confidence isn't about collecting, it's about becoming. Becoming the man who follows through. Becoming the man who keeps promises to himself. Becoming the man who's already proud of who he is so he doesn't need someone else to complete the picture. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the Stoic way. Confidence that comes from ownership of the self. Not from trying to be seen, but from knowing who you are even when no one's looking. So if you're tired of chasing confidence, start building trust with yourself instead. That's the foundation. That's the difference maker. Say it out loud if you need to, or drop it in the comments. My confidence comes from who I am, not who I need to impress. Because when that energy is real, brother, she'll feel it before you ever speak. Number 3, ambition. Let's talk about something that quietly separates the men women date from the men women follow. Ambition. Now, before you picture some Wall Street power suit or private jet fantasy, pause. I'm not talking about chasing flashy success to flex on Instagram. I'm talking about something deeper direction. A man with purpose. A man on a mission. A man who refuses to settle into comfort, mediocrity, or routine. Because let's be honest, in today's world, a lot of guys are just floating. No vision, no drive, just reacting to life instead of designing it. Wake up, scroll, work, escape, repeat. But the man who moves forward with intention? He's rare. And that rarity? It's magnetic. Here's the truth most guys don't realize. Ambition isn't about how much you've achieved. It's about how committed you are to becoming something greater. It's that inner hunger, the refusal to stay still. It's not about being there yet. It's about being in motion. And that energy? Women feel it. They may not always verbalize it, but deep down, they're drawn to men who are going somewhere. Because when you have a vision, a path, a reason to wake up with fire, you become more than a man. You become a force. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you looked at your own life and said, "I'm building something bigger than me"? Not for validation, not for applause, but because you know you were made for more? That's ambition. Not in your resume, but in your relationship to potential. And here's what's powerful about it. Ambition doesn't just attract women, it also attracts respect. From other men. From your own mind. Because when you're pursuing something difficult, something worthy, your entire presence changes. You walk differently. You speak with conviction. You say no to distractions. You carry an edge that can't be faked. And in a relationship, that ambition creates polarity. Because she's not your purpose, she's your partner. She joins your world, she doesn't become your world. That's what creates lasting attraction. Because you're not orbiting her. You're leading both of you towards something greater. And listen, ambition doesn't have to be career-related. It could be your fitness journey, your spiritual path, your creative vision. What matters isn't the category, it's the clarity. Do you know what you're building? Do you have a standard for your life, or are you winging it every day? Because here's what most men don't get. A man without direction feels heavy to a woman. She might not say it out loud, but if she has to carry both your dreams and her own, the relationship won't last. But when you have your own inner fire, she relaxes. She softens. She trusts your lead because she can feel that you're going somewhere. Marcus Aurelius once said, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." Let that sink in. So if you've been coasting, waiting for motivation to magically appear, stop. Discipline is what creates movement. Clarity is what creates direction. And movement plus direction? That's ambition in action. So say it out loud. I build. I move. I refuse to settle. That's the kind of man who doesn't just attract attention. He earns respect. He inspires trust. And he becomes unforgettable. Number 4. Mystery. The bad boy energy. Let's clear something up once and for all. Mystery isn't about playing games. It's not about acting cold, ghosting texts, or pretending you don't care. Real mystery, the kind that draws a woman in, makes her curious, makes her invest emotionally, comes from a deeper place. It's about holding something back. Not because you're hiding, but because you're whole. Because you're not spilling your soul to every person who smiles at you. Because your story isn't free, it's earned. Let me ask you this, brother. Have you ever met a man who didn't say much, but when he did, people listened? That's mystery. It's presence without performance. It's depth without desperation. See, a lot of guys hear the term bad boy and think it means being reckless, disrespectful, emotionally unavailable. Wrong. The bad boy that women are drawn to? He's not dangerous. He's just unavailable to the world, but present to himself. He's selective. He doesn't explain every move. He doesn't give away his full emotional world on the first date. And that subtle restraint, that quiet control, it pulls people in. Here's what most men don't understand. Women are attracted to the unknown when it's grounded in strength. Predictability is safe, but it's also boring. And let's be real. When you lay your whole life on the table in the first week, there's nothing left to discover. No depth to explore. No layers to unravel. But the man who carries a little silence, a little stillness, a little space, that man becomes a puzzle. And women love solving puzzles they feel emotionally connected to. Because it's not the mystery itself that excites them. It's the idea that behind that mystery is a man worth knowing. That's the key. You don't just go silent for the sake of mystery. You stay connected, but not exposed. You speak with intention, but not explanation. You create room for her to wonder, where does his mind go when he's quiet? What drives him? What hasn't he told me yet? That's when she starts investing. Not because you're trying to manipulate, but because she senses there's more to you than what's on the surface. And the truth is there should be more to you. You should have a life so rich, a mind so curious, a mission so demanding, that no woman, no matter how amazing, becomes the center of your world. You're not being mysterious to be distant. You're being mysterious because your identity isn't wrapped around her opinion of you. That's power. Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." So what color are your thoughts, brother? Are they frantic, approval-seeking, always trying to say the right thing to keep her interested? Or are they grounded, calm, focused inward, not on controlling her perception, but on building your internal state? Because mystery isn't what you do. It's what you withhold. And what you withhold speaks louder than what you say. So here's the challenge. Don't overshare out of insecurity. Don't over-explain out of fear. Let your silence say something. Let your energy build tension. Let her curiosity breathe. And if you do speak, make it count. Because when you become a man of presence, not performance, a man who reveals himself in layers, not all at once, you stop chasing her attention. You earn her fascination. Number 5. Ignored attention. Let me drop a truth that might sting a little. When your presence is always available, it starts to lose its power. We've been conditioned to think that if you really like someone, you should show up more. Text often. Always say yes. Be there instantly when she calls. That sounds romantic on the surface, like loyalty, like effort. But in reality, when your attention is constant, it becomes invisible. Let me put it another way. The sun is powerful, right? But if it never sets, if it's always blaring down with no pause, you don't appreciate it. You start avoiding it. It burns. Attention works the same way. See, most guys give too much, too fast. They think access equals connection. But what they don't realize is this: scarcity creates value. If your time, energy, and focus are always available on demand, no boundaries, no hesitation, you're not being generous, you're being unintentional. Let me ask you, brother, when was the last time you pulled your energy back, not out of ego, but out of discipline? Because real men don't give everything to everyone. They choose where they show up. They protect their presence. And when you start doing that, when you stop giving energy to anyone just because they're attractive or give you a little attention, you instantly become more attractive yourself. Why? Because now, your presence means something. It's not just noise. It's a signal. A signal that says, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to live with purpose. And if I choose to share that purpose with you, it's intentional. Women feel that. Because most men are so emotionally hungry, they hand their energy out like coupons. Discounted attention. Always available. Always checking in. Always texting first. But women don't fall for men who are always there. They fall for men who are somewhere else in their path. Focused, selective. And when those men make time for her, it means something. Here's the deeper layer. Pulling back doesn't mean being cold. It means being centered. It's the art of selective presence. Not because you're trying to manipulate, but because you know your attention has weight. And anything with weight shouldn't be thrown around casually. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." I'd add, if it is not aligned, do not give it your energy. So here's the mindset shift. You don't chase. You don't flood her with attention. You observe. You focus on your life. You stay grounded in your path. And when you do engage, it's powerful. It's present. It's rare. That contrast between your absence and your deliberate presence is what creates polarity. You go from being the guy who's just nice to the man she wonders about, the one whose presence feels like a gift, not a given. So if you're always texting first, always checking if she's okay, always waiting for her signal to act, stop. Pull your energy back. Let silence work for you. Let space create gravity. Let your presence be a decision, not a default. Because the man who knows the value of his attention, he never has to beg for hers. Number 6. Pre-selection. Let's talk about one of the most underestimated forces in attraction. Not money. Not looks. Not how smooth you talk. I'm talking about pre-selection. The subtle yet powerful signal that tells a woman, this man is already desired by others. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, isn't that just shallow? Hear me out. This isn't about being a player. It's not about juggling women to inflate your ego. It's about what women instinctively respond to: social proof. See, deep in our evolutionary wiring, both men and women have filters. And one of the strongest filters for women is this: if other women respect him, desire him, or trust him, there's probably a good reason why. It's a survival mechanism. It's her subconscious trying to avoid risk. She doesn't want to invest emotionally in a man who no other woman has ever wanted, dated, or respected. Think about it this way. Would you invest in a company no one's ever heard of, with zero testimonials, no track record, and no demand? Probably not. But if people you respect say, that brand delivers, that product is the real deal, suddenly, it's on your radar. Same thing with attraction. A man who is pre-selected by women instantly appears more trustworthy, more valuable, more desirable. And here's the kicker. This doesn't mean you need to show off your dating life. You don't need to brag about exes or name-drop women who want you. In fact, the most powerful pre-selection is felt, not spoken. It's in the way other women respond to you. It's in the feminine energy that's already present in your world. It's in the way you interact with women, not with hunger, but with familiarity. Like you've been there before. Like this isn't new to you. Women notice that. They notice when you don't chase like a man starving for attention. They notice when you hold eye contact not with tension, but with comfort. They notice when you respect them but don't pedestal them. Because that kind of energy, it doesn't come from theory. It comes from experience. And experience is attractive. It tells her you've been chosen before, that others have seen your value, that you're not just guessing at how to relate to the feminine, you've lived it. Let me ask you this. When a woman looks at you, can she feel that you're already respected by other women? Or does it feel like you're auditioning for her approval? Because the truth is, if you're trying too hard to impress her, she assumes no one else is impressed by you either. But when you're grounded, composed, playful but not needy, she starts to think, who is this guy? Why does he feel so different? And that curiosity, that's the spark. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." I'll flip that here. The best attraction isn't to try to prove you're desirable. It's to live in a way that shows you already are, with or without her. So no, you don't need to be a ladies' man. You don't need 10 women texting you right now. But you do need to carry yourself like a man who could have options. And who chooses wisely. That's pre-selection. It's quiet. It's potent. It's primal. And when done right, you don't have to convince her of your value. She feels it long before you even say a word. Number 7. Masculinity. Let's set the record straight. Masculinity isn't about dominance. It's not about being loud. It's not about controlling every room you walk into, or showing no emotion like some hardened statue. Real masculinity? It's emotional groundedness. It's the quiet strength of a man who feels deeply but isn't ruled by those feelings. And in a world where most men are either emotionally shut down or emotionally chaotic, that kind of presence, it's rare, and it's magnetic. Here's the thing. Women aren't looking for a man who never feels anything. They're looking for a man who can hold his center when emotions run high. A man who can feel anger, but not explode. Feel fear but not fold. Feel sadness but still show up. Because that's where trust is built. Not just in how you treat her, but in how you handle yourself. Let me ask you something, brother. When life gets heavy, do you collapse into reaction? Or do you slow your breath, check in with your body, and lead with intention? Because women notice. They can sense when a man is a ticking time bomb, when his calm is just surface level and will crack the moment things get hard. And they can sense when a man has done the work, the inner work, the real work. You want to be truly attractive? Learn how to sit in discomfort. Learn how to stay calm when someone else is losing it. Learn how to own your emotions, not dump them on everyone around you. Because that, my friend, is what makes a woman feel safe in your presence. It's not just your physical strength. It's your ability to carry tension without crumbling. To lead with stillness instead of control. She doesn't need you to fix every problem. She needs to feel your stability when hers is wavering. That's masculine energy at its finest, not force, but containment. Not suppressing emotion, but integrating it. Not running from vulnerability, but holding it like a man who doesn't fear what he feels. And yes, this takes practice. It takes self-awareness. It takes ownership. But here's the reward. When you master emotional control, not by numbing out, But by learning to breathe through the fire, you become unshakable. And in the eyes of the feminine, that's irresistible. Because she's not drawn to perfection. She's drawn to presence. The kind of presence that says, I can handle my world, and I can hold space for yours too. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, said, You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's the heart of masculine leadership. It's not about being above emotion. It's about being beneath a tankard, calm and clear. You want to level up as a man? Start here. Don't chase alpha energy. Don't mimic bravado. Just do this. Be the man who can stay calm in a storm. The man who listens before reacting. The man who doesn't collapse into chaos but contains it. Because when you become that man, you don't just attract her, you stabilize her. And she'll feel something rare, not just desire, but relief. 8. Charismatic leadership. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood qualities of masculinity. Leadership. Not the loud, bossy, my way or the highway kind. Not the kind that tries to dominate or control. I'm talking about charismatic leadership. The kind that doesn't force people to follow, but makes them want to. Especially in relationships. See, women don't crave to be controlled. What they crave is a man with a clear direction. A man with vision. A man who knows where he's going and invites her to come along, not because she has to, but because she trusts him to lead. Let me ask you something, brother. When a woman is around you, does she feel like she can relax into her feminine? Or does she feel like she has to make all the decisions, carry the plan, and lead the emotional tone? Because when a man doesn't lead, she has to. And even the strongest woman will eventually burn out trying to lead both herself and you. But when you step into grounded, calm leadership, something shifts. You become the container for the relationship. You don't control it, you guide it. It's in the little things. You choose the restaurant with confidence, but you remain open to her preferences. You take the first step in resolving conflict, not by blaming, but by staying composed and clear. You don't just talk about goals, you live by standards. That energy, it tells her, you're safe here. I've got this. And here's the secret. Leadership is not about being right. It's about being responsible. You're responsible for your mindset, for your emotional tone, for the direction you're taking, not just in the relationship, but in life. Because a man without a mission is a man without a map. And without a map, no one can follow you because you're not going anywhere. Women are naturally drawn to structure, to order, to clarity. Not because they're weak, but because it allows them to soften, to trust, to breathe. Marcus Aurelius said, Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's the code. A good man doesn't yell to prove he's in charge. He doesn't need to dominate to feel strong. He leads through presence, not pressure. Through vision, not volume. Let me break it down even simpler. The grounded leader does 3 things. 1. He makes decisions not impulsively, but with thought and clarity. 2. He takes initiative and not waiting for her to push things forward. 3. He owns outcomes, no blame, no excuses, just accountability. And guess what happens? She begins to trust your rhythm. She begins to feel safe following your lead. Not because you're above her, but because you've proven you can hold the weight. You become the calm in her storm, the direction when she's overwhelmed. The man who doesn't just talk leadership, he lives it. So if you want to be more attractive, stop asking for permission to lead. Start leading with quiet certainty, not with control, but with conviction. Let your actions speak. Let your energy say, we're moving forward and I've got room for you beside me. Because when you become that man, you don't need to convince her of your value. She feels it. And she follows not out of fear, but out of trust. Number 9. Emotional intelligence. Let me tell you something most men never hear growing up. It's not your emotions that make you weak. It's your inability to understand them that keeps you stuck. And if you want to build powerful relationships, especially with women, you need more than confidence, more than ambition, more than charm. You need emotional intelligence. Now, I know that phrase gets thrown around a lot, but let's break it down simply. Emotional intelligence is your ability to recognize, feel, and manage emotions, yours and hers. And here's the truth. The average guy either suppresses everything or spills everything. Neither creates attraction. Neither builds trust. But the man who can feel anger without snapping, who can hold space for someone's sadness without trying to fix it, who can sit in awkward, uncomfortable tension without needing to escape or dominate, that man becomes magnetic. Because women don't just want a man who's logical. They want a man who's emotionally aware. Someone who doesn't freak out when things get messy. Someone who knows the difference between reacting and responding. Let me ask you this. How do you respond when someone you care about is upset? Do you try to solve it immediately because her emotion makes you uncomfortable? Do you shut down because you never learned how to sit with hard feelings? Or do you stay open, curious, grounded? Because here's what most men don't realize. Emotional intelligence isn't about softness. It's about strength under control. It's the ability to be the calm in emotional chaos, not because you're detached, but because you're anchored. That's rare. That's powerful. And that's deeply attractive. Because when a woman sees that you're not afraid of her emotions, that you don't shame her for being sensitive, moody, or vulnerable, she feels safe. Not just physically, but emotionally. And when a woman feels emotionally safe, something incredible happens. She opens. She relaxes. She starts to show parts of herself she normally hides from the world. You don't get that access through looks or money. You get it through presence. Through being emotionally literate in a world full of emotional toddlers. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's Stoicism. That's emotional intelligence. Not numbness. Not repression. But clarity. Self-command. The ability to feel everything without becoming ruled by any of it. So how do you develop that? You slow down. You start observing your emotional patterns. You learn to name what you're feeling without judgment. And most importantly, you stop trying to run from discomfort. Because the more you face your inner world, the less afraid you are of hers. And that's the real gift. When she cries, you don't flinch. When she's anxious, you don't rush to change it. When she's angry, you don't attack or retreat. You stay. You breathe. You listen. And by doing that, you separate yourself from 95% of men. You become the man who makes her feel seen, not managed. The man who holds space, not control. The man whose strength isn't just in his body, but in his presence. So, if you've been told emotions are weakness, think again. Because the man who can navigate his emotional world with clarity and compassion, he becomes unforgettable. Number 10. Passionate interests. Let me give it to you straight. If she becomes your entire world, you will lose her. Not because she doesn't care. Not because she's playing games. But because no woman wants to be the only thing giving your life meaning. That kind of pressure, it suffocates attraction. You want to know one of the most underrated psychological triggers that makes a woman lean in? It's when she sees you fully alive, doing something that has nothing to do with her. A craft, a mission, a creative pursuit. Something that lights you up from the inside and doesn't require her attention to keep burning. See, passionate interests do more than just fill your time. They signal something deeper. You're a man with his own center. A man who's not chasing validation. A man who already has a full cup and chooses to share it, not beg to have it filled. And women feel that. They feel when you're not waiting around for her texts. They feel when your day is already full of meaning and momentum. They feel when you're building something real, whether it's your business, your art, your body, your music, your vision. And here's the wild part. When she sees you lost in your purpose, immersed in your element, that's when you become magnetic. Not because you're trying to impress her, but because you're not trying at all. You're just being fully you. Let me ask you, when was the last time you got so lost in something you forgot to check your phone? So deep in flow that time disappeared? That's the kind of energy women crave. Not dependency, not clinginess, but a man on fire with or without her. And it's not just about being busy. It's about showing that your life has texture, that you've got passions, layers, and direction. That she's stepping into a world that's already alive, not one that's empty and waiting for her to animate it. There's a reason why artists, musicians, athletes, builders, thinkers have a certain pull. It's not just status. It's that they're tapped into something bigger than themselves. And you don't need to be famous or gifted to have this. You just need to care about something deeply and pursue it with consistency. Whether it's painting, lifting, writing, traveling, climbing, coding, cooking, whatever. If it wakes you up inside, if it gives you clarity, if it fuels your spirit, it belongs in your life. And by extension, it will elevate your presence with women. Because here's the deeper truth. When she sees that your soul is already alive, she doesn't have to rescue you. She gets to join you. And that changes everything. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Stop whatever you're doing for a moment and ask yourself, is this essential?" And I'd ask you, is your life essential to you? Do you move like a man with purpose? Or are you living in neutral, hoping a relationship gives you the drive you won't give yourself? Because passion is power. And power, when it's quiet, focused, self-contained, is attractive in ways that words can't explain. So if you've lost that fire lately, go get it back. Reclaim your hobbies. Reconnect with what made you feel alive before you got distracted by dating apps and validation loops. Be a man with a mission. Let her watch you move toward it. And if she's the right one, she'll want to move with you. Number 11. Energetic imprint. Let's get real for a second. Your words only carry so much weight. What she feels from you long before you speak is what makes the impact. Because the truth is, brother, you're always communicating. Even in silence. Especially in silence. That's what I call your energetic imprint. It's the vibe you carry into a room. The posture of your nervous system. The way your presence lands before you even open your mouth. You ever notice how some men can walk into a space, say nothing, and yet every eye turns toward them? It's not because they're trying. It's because they've cultivated something deeper. A calm fire. A grounded frequency. A subtle magnetism that speaks louder than any pickup line ever could. And women, they're wired to feel it. Not through logic, not through reasoning, but through sensation, through the body. She reads your walk. She reads your breath. She feels the energy in your gaze, the weight behind your silence. And here's what most men don't realize. You can't fake it. You can fake confidence with words. You can memorize scripts. You can mirror body language and rehearse tactics, but your energy, that's the truth underneath it all. And women feel it instantly. If your energy is frantic, needy, uncertain, she'll sense it, even if your words are smooth. If your energy is grounded, relaxed, and self-contained, she'll lean in without knowing why. It's primal. It bypasses the thinking mind. It's her nervous system speaking to yours. Let me ask you, when you walk into a room, what enters with you? Stillness? Tension? Calm conviction? because that's what she responds to. Note your resume, not your muscles, not your banter. She's looking for a feeling, the feeling of being in the presence of a man who doesn't need to be the center of attention, because he is the center of his own world. That's where power lives. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And I'd add this: your presence becomes dyed by the quality of your energy. What you carry inside leaks out everywhere. So how do you cultivate an energetic imprint that pulls her in? You start by mastering your breath. The breath is the bridge between your body and your mind. Slow it down, and your presence settles. Speed it up and anxiety takes over. You become aware of your body. You stand like a man who owns his space, not with aggression, but with ease. You walk like someone who isn't chasing, but choosing. You look people in the eye not to intimidate, but to see them. And most importantly, you stop trying to prove yourself, because nothing ruins your energy faster than desperation. Instead, you embody this: I'm already enough. I'm already grounded. I'm already whole. No words needed. And guess what? When she feels that, she doesn't just hear your presence as she trusts it. And that trust is the doorway to attraction. So the next time you're around her, just think about what to say. Ask yourself, what does my energy say when I say nothing at all? Because that's the real message. And when your energy speaks with clarity, calm, and quiet confidence, you don't chase her attention. You become unforgettable. Number 12, nonverbal emotional sync. Let's talk about a form of communication more powerful than words. The kind that doesn't require you to be charming, smooth, or even talkative. I'm talking about nonverbal emotional sync. It's the moment when your presence speaks louder than your voice. When she looks at you and she just knows you get her, not because you said the right thing, but because you felt her. This isn't something you fake. You can't rehearse it. You can't manipulate it. It's a natural result of being fully present. See, most men are stuck in their heads when they're with women, thinking of what to say next, worrying about how they're being perceived, planning a response before she even finishes speaking. But presence, true presence, isn't about saying the right thing. It's about feeling the right thing at the right time. It's in the subtle moments. The way your eyes stay on hers just a second longer when she's talking about something vulnerable. The way you mirror her breathing without even realizing it. The way you tilt your body slightly forward, not to control, but to connect. It's when she says, "I'm fine." And instead of taking it at face value, you pause. You breathe. You look at her a little deeper, and you simply say, "I don't think you are." That's the sync. That's when she feels seen on a level most men never reach. Because here's what you have to understand. Women live in the subtle. They notice energy shifts. They feel emotional currents. They communicate just as much through tone, facial expressions, and body language as they do through words. And when you can tune into that world without needing it to be obvious or spelled out, you become rare. Let me ask you, have you ever had someone look at you and you felt like they actually saw you? Not your performance, not your mask, but you? That's what women are starving for. That sense of emotional safety, of being understood without having to over-explain. You don't have to solve her problems. You don't need to intellectualize every emotion. You just need to feel with her, without losing yourself. That's what creates emotional polarity. That's what builds magnetic intimacy. Not more words, not perfect logic, but the silent message, "You're safe to be you here with me." The Stoics taught us this. Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings. Seneca, in a world filled with noise, the man who can sit in silence with awareness, who doesn't rush to speak, who doesn't interrupt emotions with advice, who just holds the moment with calm energy, that man makes her feel something primal. She's not alone. And when she feels that with you, that deep emotional sync, without needing to speak it, it hits her differently. It bypasses her brain and goes straight to the nervous system. That's not flirtation. That's not seduction. That's resonance. So if you want to connect deeper, try this. Next time she's sharing something important, say less. Feel more. Stay soft in your eyes. Relax your jaw. Be still. Let her feel you're listening. Because in that silence, you say everything she needs to hear. Let's wrap this up with something most men never get taught. These 12 principles, they're not techniques to impress women. They're not manipulations to win attention. They're not about bending yourself to be liked. They're a call to become someone worth remembering. Because the real secret? You don't attract through tactics. You attract through truth, the truth of who you are and how deeply you live that truth without apology. Most men spend their lives chasing attention, trying to be good enough, loud enough, cool enough. But here's what the rare man understands. The more you chase attention, the more it runs. But the more you anchor into your own energy, your values, your purpose, the more attention finds you. And not just any attention. The kind that feels right, the kind that sees you for who you really are, not what you perform. Because women don't fall for words. They fall for presence. They fall for the man who doesn't need validation to stand firm. The man whose calm speaks louder than the crowd. The man who leads without force, feels without fear, and lives with conviction. That's what these 12 triggers point toward. They're not about how to get her. They're about how to return to you. The man you were before the world told you to shrink. Before your confidence got tangled in approval. Before you forgot that masculinity isn't a performance, it's a presence. So ask yourself, who are you when no one's watching? What do you carry into a room without saying a word? What values guide you when life isn't easy? Because when you start answering those questions with clarity, that's when attraction stops being effort and starts being inevitable. Not because you're trying to prove anything, but because you finally remembered. You are the center. You're not the noise. You're the still point in the chaos. You're not out there chasing. You're the one who's chosen, because your life, your presence, and your energy are undeniable. So here's your reminder, brother. You don't have to become someone else to be magnetic. You have to become more of who you really are, with discipline, courage, emotional depth, and unapologetic truth. And when you do, you'll never have to chase again. Share this with someone who needs it today. And if you found a sense of peace in this message, follow us to keep receiving ancient wisdom for modern life. Thank you for being part of Ancient Stoic Secrets. Let's keep walking this path together.